Hey guys, what's up? This is Scher talking. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be talking about some of the 3 new upcoming things coming to Romancing Saga Reuniverse. They are all related to Romancing Saga 3. We are living a month of celebration for Romancing Saga 3, and why that is because Romancing Saga Reuniverse is now very popular on traditional Chinese and Korean versions, so they are giving a translation for this language for the original games. And now it's time for Romancing Saga 3 release, and they are celebrating the whole game. And what we get, a new banner with SS Thomas and SS Sarah alongside as Ellen and A Katarina. Are they that good? Well, we discussed this in a few, but before, we also have to say that we have a new event called Battle with Abyssal Naga, where you can find the Young Boy. The Young Boy is a very good freestyle. Still not as strong as premium styles, but can beat many of the launching ones and some of the middle term as well, just not the recent. And what we have here is the returning of Romancing Festival, Bunny. Bunny is still relevant inside the game because of her agility debuff, but she's being re-released alongside global exclusive Monica, a character that didn't feel so good back on release because she felt like needing an inheritance of a future version of her that was not released. Now we already have this new version that was released alongside Matriarch, and it makes more sense if you are aiming for her now. And the other one is Khalid, that's a very good buffer for Slash and Lightning, especially for Lightning, but may see decreased value for its own damage. Okay, so this banner only has 3 discounted pools. I don't know how many people still have gems. That is a problem. But then, discussing Thomas and Sarah banner, they got a buff. Only these 2 characters because the other ones are just for inheritance. Katarina and Ellen are just for inheritance. Ellen is very good for those that play with Ellen, although Katarina may not make an impact. But Thomas and Sarah are now buffed, and we'll be discussing them. We have some information on Reddit. Let's go straight there. So now that we are here on Reddit, let me thank again Hands for A3 for posting this information. There is even a resume of the Taiwan podcast that released some information about upcoming events, not just the banners. And we also have the information about Sarah and Thomas because they were buffed, like I just said. Sarah got an endurance buff, only 5%, 2% on dexterity, and 4% on love. That's what changed. Now I just want to take a look into all different versions of Sarah. We do have 4 different SS styles of her. All of them are limited. That is a problem because this one was award, and this one was, I forgot the name, and this is the Romancing Saga 3 Festival one, and we have this other one in the future. This one is the latest one in JP, and she's pretty strong. As you can see, she was released alongside the 2.5 year anniversary. Yes, that is when Bertland got released. He is pretty powerful. This is the Child of Destiny banner. So, this version is pretty strong. She even has some good cycles, but let's discuss this one. They made some difference to make her better since all the versions of Sarah were kinda average so far. I mean, this version was kinda average, this one was average as well, and now we finally have one that can do respect for Sarah's name, in my opinion, at least finally. So now returning to the Reddit post, as you can see, she does have good agility, 81% and 12 bonus means that she'll be attacking before most enemies. And her dexterity is good, although not as high as the current characters that we are receiving that are already hitting for 100%. And those status are the most important ones. Love and Charisma are also important because she can self-heal and heal the squad. So for skills, what we have is the first one, a 3 BP attack that recovers HP by a small effect. That should be around 600. It's not that much, but it really helps Sarah stay alive if you need an emergency heal because she needs to support the squad. Although I always prefer to save her BP for her 3rd skill. We'll get more into that later. Then the 2nd skill is a double attack. We are getting many characters with double attack. This one is a D damage roll attack with both pierce and hit. It's an interesting combination of damage because we do have some others that also do pierce and hit. They are, well, Vagnus and Therese, and they work pretty well together. We can use now Sarah with 10 in Deadly Pierce or Reverse Sigmoid easily, although roll attack is way less interesting than AoE. Not many waves of enemies will have that aligned like you want them to, and we still rely on turn order. This is not a fast attack. Also, it's a double attack, and after she uses it twice, deep power is not that high, just remember. and if you are using this only in one single target, using a double S attack will be better. But she buffs her own dexterity by the skill, and because she's more supportive now, I don't understand why they gave this dex buff, especially being so niche. We can compare this to Teacher Sif. Teacher Sif can buff the STR of the squad. It's not just self. She buffs the STR of the whole squad with a 4 BP attack. This one uses 8 BP and you will buff only yourself. I don't understand why they made this. Also, like Hands for H3 noticed it only triggered once in the video, so I don't know if they are choosing a different mechanic, because it may seem like she uses the 2 attacks one after another without triggering a new name. If they don't trigger a new name of a skill, it means that it only calculates once. So that may be the case. Then we have the third skill. This one is her selling point and they changed it to be better. It's a triple S damage attack that can be an opener, since it's 10 BP when you fully awaken, and she recovers her own HP by small effect. That means around 600 again. It's the same healing as the first skill. Yeah. And then she also recovers HP for all surviving allies. But that's only extra small effect. What is extra small effect? That's the same as Minstrel Heal. Minstrel heals for around 120, that should be close to what she'll be healing. And it's around 1/4 of the small effect. The bad thing, we already have Mirza inside the game. Global buffs to Mirza made him a very powerful healer, because he does not use LP, just like Sarah, she also does not. But Mirza heals for small effect. He's healing for around 500 and more without using LP as well. And he also does double damage, Sun and Slash. This time it's only Pierce. When comparing her to Mirza, she fails to compare to such a powerful healing. She may stay on full HP all the time, but her mates will not be. She can still help out some mates by her first passive, but I don't believe that you can use her exactly like Mirza can sustain in very tough fights. But for those that don't have Mirza, she's an option right now. Although it's, well, I expected more for this. What we have with the first passive is she can recover her own HP and a random surviving ally by medium probability and medium effect. That means 25% chance and around the same healing for close to 600. 25% is not that high, we know, but it can save someone, but you don't know who will be healed. It may be someone that even does not need a healing, so that is bad. Then the second passive, increased damage on full HP, the increase is 20%, and when she's not on full HP, she decreases the incoming damage, and it should be for 15%. That is good, finally something that works for both ways, offensive and defensive, although I would like something that is active all the time. Then for ability number 3 we have Fired Up 5, that means 20% increase in damage at all times. While we have 20% at all times and 40% when on full HP. That is good enough for farming because she does have good enough agility, she'll be attacking most enemies before, but what attacks will she be performing against enemies? Because the first one is weak, the second one is niche, the third one is a single target nuke, that one is very good. Although recovering HP on turn 1 means no sense at all. So for inheritance we don't have that many options. We do have $1 million from her first style. This one is still good enough. She could inherit this flash arrow and use it twice in a return cycle, but it's too weak for the current game. We are getting Mirage Blade with B power instead, so I keep up with this. And then Rapid Volley gets upgraded in the future. This is the name of Rapid Volley in Japan. And this one decreases BP, so 4 BP. It's not that bad, but then she cannot use this well. Her second skill will get in the way all the time. So I don't think that any of her inheritance will make her better. You should just think about her as a single target nuke. So she opens with her third skill here, and then she just uses her skill number 1. She can even use 1000 needles because it's actually okay damage, but I don't know, it doesn't make much sense to me. So when you have a character that it's too restricted in its own design, I don't know, the healing is good. She can heal herself, heal the squad, she can heal another random ally as well. She will be on full HP most of the time. If you like her triple S damage, you should just stick to this and think about her for boss fights. She would not be the best one for farming unless the enemies are in a single wave, so you can nuke the enemy down and that should be good. For more than 2 waves, I don't think that she has a good cycle. So we just got many Pierce attackers in the game. We got Darke, we got Jamie, and got Claudia, and they are way better on doing damage. But at least Sarah brings utility. If you still need healing and you don't have Mirza, she may offer something to you. I'll throw in a last Valley. And now we just talk about Thomas. And Thomas was a hybrid unit with his past styles, especially the other one that we call him Teacher Thomas, I don't know. And this one has good intelligence in SDR, but not that high because he's a hybrid. That's the same case with Wagner's. Wagner's design is similar. You can use 2 different builds for Thomas, and I think that he's a pretty respectable damage dealer because of that. As you can see, they also buffed his dexterity because it was not that high. Recently, the bosses have very high agility, and even some maxed characters are missing, so I take this very nicely. His agility was buffed as well, and he needs because he's also a status inflictor. I think that status inflictors need high agility or else they fail to offer something. If they attack after the enemy, makes no sense. 3% more intelligence as well, the same increase for an SDR. It's a respectable buff for status, but nothing spectacular. Now talking about his skills. The first one is a support skill, and this one, it's not good. Well, because we already have way better buffers. Well, we have Matriarch, we have Noel's Daughter. Using him for a buff makes no sense. But when you have a skill that's supportive on slot 1, it means that you have a lot of interesting cycles because he will not use a sheep attack. Sometimes you don't want a character to use a sheep attack, and that allows you to build your Thomas for very different scenarios. Well, the second skill is this one here. It's a 6 BP when you full awaken, single target, A damage skill that deals pierce and petrifies when hit. Well, his intelligence is pretty amazing. The problem is that you are using SDR to deal damage, and to have higher chance to inflict petrify, you need intelligence. So, how many formations can you use this? Well, Sigmoid works if you are using the middle center slot. And that one does not increase agility, but at least it does not decrease. It may work in some scenarios if you really want to inflict Petrify. We don't have many Petrify inflictors in the game. We have Thomas, we have Taria, we have Aisha. Aisha doesn't have enough intelligence, Thomas does, and Taria as well. But if you are wanting to Petrify, you usually want AoE. Single target means that you are probably going after a boss, and especially farmable bosses, because in romancing fights you cannot petrify, I can assure you. And then the last skill is Nuke, that kinda too similar to, well, Rock Bouquet Nuke from her Prefector style. That means that he attacks between 3 to 5 times. It is not as good as Polka's Scatter Explosion because Polka only uses 9, they use 12. Both Rock Bouquet and Thomas. Thomas will do more damage, but not in all scenarios since the global exclusive Rock has a better damage potential. But he may do more damage than Polka. If you compare the damage, but still, they do very different damage types. Blunt for Thomas, Heat for Polka, and Shadow and Lightning for Rock Bouquet. They do more damage because of passives. And in this case, Thomas was also buffed to deal even more damage. I think that it's hard to justify having a blunt nuke since we have way too many blunt damage dealers, but since Thomas now can perform very strong nuke for Final Island and some other scenarios, he does become a very interesting addition. So first passive of Thomas is Power Charge 3. This one gives him plus 3 BP on the start of a fight, and it's super important to his own build, because it allows him to use skill number 3 on the start of a fight, so he becomes a good nuker. He can also use skill number 2 3 times in a 3-turn cycle. He can also inherit a nerd spell with C power AoE damage to use that 3 times in a row as well, although he needs to amplify that from inheritance, we'll see that later. And also Delta Petra 2 times in a 3-turn cycle. Delta Petra is too costly right now with 9 BP cost, so you need Power Charge 2 at least to be able to do it. So they changed it for Power Charge 3, it doesn't affect him much, but well, the more the better. For passive number 2, he has a chance to petrify when he hits. That is the same type of passive as we had in the past with Vampire Lady. Vampire Lady from her Halloween style had a 25% chance of charming. And her version was pretty nice because it didn't test the gender of the enemy. It will work even on genderless. And now we have a similar passive with Thomas. He can petrify instead. And petrify is overpowered, but just that many enemies will resist. But in some future events, it may be interesting, but don't think that you'll be using these romancing fights. Although he does have a new value now, he can also debuff agility by 25% chance as well, and the debuff should be 20%. It's not reliable to use this as your main resource of agility debuff, but it may help if you're using him for damage. It will only trigger once with his skill number 3, just remember that. If you're using him for damage, he can contribute to the buff agility as well. Since after using his nuke, he has to attack with normal attack, and then sometimes he would just, debuff agility. That's an interesting addition, I must say, because if you use it for boss fight, it means more. Now for ability number 3, what we have is for the 5 and also increase the damage when hitting for weak attacks. It says medium in fact, so it should be 10% for a total of 30. It doesn't have the same amount of passives as the global exclusive Rock Bouquet. She will do a little more damage than him, but he does not come so far. So I do respect Thomas for being now a turn 1 damage dealer with interesting damage output, bringing agility debuff when you are using him for boss fights, and some very interesting inheritance options for Petrify. Let's discuss the inheritance. Okay, so what we need to discuss is how you do damage with Thomas. He will do both blunt because of earth spells and both pierce because of spear skills. He needs an earth spear. That's for sure if you want to take advantage of everything. Like, the skill number 3 is a spell, so you should be using an Earth Spear. And if you want to take advantage of the second skill damage, you can even use any of your SS weapons. Just don't try to use the spells. He can use this second skill 3 times in a 3-turn cycle because of power charge, and that's good enough. He can also inherit this skill here that's an AoE attack, and that stun targets, but it will not hit flying enemies. It can be upgraded. We already have this inside the game, I forgot the name. It's not bad. And then he also has Delta Pelta. Right now it's not upgradable. It should be. Delta Petra plus in JP is pretty good. It's good damage and only 8 PP cost. He can use this 2 times in a 3-turn cycle. And other inheritance option is Super Gravity, although right now it makes no sense, only when you upgrade and reduce the BP cost, and if you want stable damage instead of RNG. But Delta Petra is one of the most interesting things for him since he gets a double chance to petrify. Chance from skill, and then up to 25% chance for the second. So, well, if the enemy has very high will, having double chance may help. But that's about it. I don't think there are other interesting options from him. I do believe that Thomas now has some more value than compared to his JP counterpart, especially because we got so many buffed characters that he needed something. Now he's a good turn 1 damage dealer with some added bonus for boss fight. Is he wonderful? No, I don't think Thomas is all that good because of so many blunt attackers. And you can live without him. I feel like Rock Bouquet adds more by being an intelligence debuffer. Even Polka becomes relevant because of short cycles. And now Thomas will do more damage than Polka, but the longevity of him may be affected by future releases. This was the last version of Thomas in JP, so that also affects him a little. And now what we have is 2 different styles for inheritance. The first is Katarina and her A style. This one here makes no much sense to me. We already have way too many versions of Katarina to inherit anything from here. She already has the first and the second skill in her other common versions, and then she has Glacier Sword. This one may help one of her styles for not attacking on turn 1. That is if you want her to delay, because this one is an 8 PP attack. We already have way too many 8 PP attacks with double S damage. This one is only S. It should have been higher to justify having delay. but here's only use it as a gimmick to not attack on turn 1 if you don't want to. You can use this with the latest version of Katarina. But beside that, there's no other real value on this style. The good thing is that we may get this version for free just by purchasing the weekly pieces and the shop pieces. So stay tuned for that, don't forget to get the pieces. And the last one that we have is Ellen in her S style. This one only exists for one thing, the first skill. This skill here is her only AoE attack with Sheep Coast. You can use it anytime because it's a 3BP when you fully awaken, and it has a very low output, but it doesn't matter too much since if you are using a double S axe in the future, the damage will still be good. For AoE cycles, then you'll be able to get some of her versions to perform AoE all the time, especially Abyss Ellen. Abyss Ellen had Mega Hawk here, Mega Hawk, and then she could just keep using this AoE attack all the time. The summer version is not based on AoE, so it doesn't help that much as it helps Abyss Ellen. She never had a full AoE with Sheep Coast, so now it's finally her time to get this, but it's an S style, you may not get it so easily, so I do suggest you doing multiples if you want this version of Ellen. I don't think it's too much of a cost, because sometimes we even summon for SS styles that has only 1% chance of dropping to get a single skill. So if you like Ellen, if you are using Ellen, it may be interesting to do some multiples here just to get this inheritance. Now that we're back on the banner image, is it worth summoning here? In my opinion, hardly. The bad thing is that we only have 2 SS styles and they can be replaced by some others, while S Ellen is only for inheritance. You only have 40% chance of getting those 2 styles that are the most important things, and that can lead you to a pity very easily. Thomas does open some very interesting combinations, like being used on Rainbow Rangers for full blunt damage. You can have him on intelligence position, you can have someone like Rufus or Emilia in the Dex position, someone like Summer Ellen or Elizabeth, or some other character that can do blunt in STR, and another martial artist on agility. That means that your squad will be very strong, but mostly not for boss fights, mostly for farming events that may have a boss, but only for nuke strategies, for turn 1 clear and fast clear. Thomas for boss fights works better now in global, but he's still not a specialist for bosses, so it's easier to well use some other characters. In case of SaGa, SaGa is a replacement for those elect Mirza. She does bring a lot of utility. She will stay on full HP most of the time with so many passives that can help her being on top, but her sustain to the squad is not that good as Mirza. If you already have Mirza, you find, well, no reason to use SaGa instead of him. And he also does double type of damage. S Ellen is helpful because she can give an inheritance option for Ellen, and Ellen has many different styles that can still be relevant in the short term, although in the long term I don't think that much. But if you still lack some of these options, well, Thomas is still preferable instead of SaGa, in my opinion, although, yeah, SaGa will be helpful for those without Mirza. Oh, and I don't think that Sarah is bad, let me rephrase this. She is good. I'm just discussing her longevity inside the game and as an investment. Sadly, as an investment for future, this version of SaGa will not be that good for too much time. And one last thing, if you're planning to summon here, let me tell you, we probably have more Romancing Saga 3 banners, since they are celebrating this, and one of them is for News banner, and I suspect it should be the next one. And this is for News banner. We will have Julian, Black, Boston, and Forneos. There are 4 different SS styles, and they will offer you more volley altogether. Although I will not judge you if you do some pulls trying to get Ellen and one of the 2 characters. Okay, so it will depend on your gens and the characters that you have access to, but just think that these characters are good, not bad, but may not offer the best value for everyone. Thanks so much for watching this video. What's your opinion? Please say here in the comments. I hope this helps you decide if you also planning on summoning. If you want to support the channel, the links are here in the description of the video. We see you further on the next one. Bye.